Okay, we're going to read the story, The Snake and the Mirror. And before we go on, let me tell you about the author. Now, the author's name was Viacom Mohammad Bashir, and he is regarded as one of the prominent literary figures ever. He was one of those outspoken figures who revolutionized Malayalam literature and thus world literature itself with his determined sarcasm, satire and black humor. He was often referred to as the Beypore Sultan with his colleagues. His novel Shabdangal was once banned due to its resonance that changed the feudalistic society. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1982 for his overall contribution to the nation as a freedom fighter, writer, and as a political activist. The Snake and the Mirror is a story of an encounter between a doctor and a snake. Has a snake ever coiled itself round any part of your body? A full-blooded cobra? All of us fell silent. The question came from the homeopath. The topic came up when we were discussing snakes. We listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. It was a hot summer night about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at this restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. I could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. The house was not electrified. It was a small rented room. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase. I opened the two windows in the room. It was an outer room with one wall facing the open yard. It had a tiled roof with long supporting gables that rested on the beam over the wall. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic of rats to and from the beam. I made my bed and pulled it close to the wall. I lay down but could not sleep. I got up and went out to the veranda for a little air. But the wind god seemed to have taken time off. I went back to the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the box beneath the table and took out a book, the Materia Medica. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and a large mirror. A small comb lay beside the mirror. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is near one. I took a look. In those days, I was a great admirer of beauty and I believed in making myself look handsome. I was unmarried and I was a doctor. I felt I had to make my presence felt. I picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and adjusted my parting so that it looked straight and neat. Again, I heard that sound from above. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin moustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. Suddenly there came a dull thud, as if a rubber tube had fallen on the ground. Surely nothing to worry about. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The snake's landing on me and my turning was simultaneous. Now here we have an homeopathic doctor, and as they were discussing about snakes, he asks his audience if a snake had ever coiled itself around them. Everyone fell silent. Then the doctor started with a story. Yeah? Now the doctor lived in a small rented room, which was actually an outhouse. It had two windows and a tiled roof. The tiles were supported by beams and there was no electricity, so he had to use a kerosene lamp. Moreover, the room was infested with rats, and that particular day, when he returned home and opened the door, he heard a familiar noise. Ignoring it as one of the rats, he entered the room. The doctor then took off his clothes and hung them up. He made his bed and lay down but could not get sleep, so he went out to the veranda for a little air. There wasn't any. Eventually he came back to his room, took out a book called the Materia Medica. He placed it on the table. which stood near a lamp and a large mirror and a small comb near the large mirror. Like everyone else, the doctor was tempted to look at himself. You see, those days he was a great admirer of beauty, so he said. He believed in making himself look handsome. So, as he was lost in his own thoughts, he heard that familiar noise from the top of the mirror. He again ignored it and started pacing around the room with thoughts of getting married to a woman doctor with plenty of money and a good medical practice. Well, with such thoughts in mind, he sat on the chair in front of the table. Suddenly, he heard a dull thud, as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. And as he turned around, he saw a fat snake wriggling over the back of the chair. Tutormate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store.